The galaxy's greatest chamber glittered like a cathedral of stars. From the vaulted ceiling of the core council dome, banners of 100 species swayed in an artificial breeze. The air shimmered with the light of holomaps, each one charting the galaxy's great trade routes, military holdings, and borders. Entire empires shone in colored light. Only one region remained marked in black, empty, unlit, unacknowledged. Solas, humanity's cradle. The silence of Earth had become a legend. They withdrew centuries ago, sneered a sleek-skinned Athecan. Delegate, his voice amplified across the chamber. His narrow jaw clattered as he spoke, and his golden crest rippled with contempt. They turned inward, refusing council treaties, ignoring summons, and shuttering their colonies. Perhaps the humans no longer have the strength to answer us. A ripple of laughter passed through the younger empires. The great dome filled with the clicking of mandibles, the rumble of scaled throats, the hiss of gas-borne lungs. Perhaps, boomed a lumbering Krath warlord, his voice like rolling thunder, it is time we claim what they hoard. Their worlds, their ores, their weapons. Why let dust rot when power waits unclaimed? Around him other voices rose in agreement. They spoke of Earth as one speaks of prey, soft, defenseless, forgotten. But not all joined in the chorus. At the edge of the chamber, the elder species sat in silence. The Vakari, their eyes black as obsidian. The Ossel, pale and insectile, their antennae trembling. Even the Keth, who had once ruled half the stars, remained still. They exchanged wary glances, but said nothing. The young races mocked them. "Do you cower, old ones?" the Athecan jeered. "Do the shadows of the past haunt you still? Humanity has no fleets, no voice, no claim. Their silence is permission." But the elders did not laugh. They remembered. They remembered when Terran fleets once crossed the void like wolves, not prey. They remembered a war fought long before the council halls gleamed. A war where humanity had not asked for mercy, nor given it. The silence of Earth was not weakness. It was a wound, one the galaxy had chosen to forget. Still, the vote passed. The coalition of younger empires stood, their banners glowing bright, their fleets already in motion. They would send envoys to Sol with one demand: submit or burn. The chamber emptied. Laughter echoed against the dome's high walls, while whispers curled in the shadows. One Ossel elder spoke softly to another. They should have left Sol dark, for away, across the light years, Earth hung in its familiar silence. Oceans glittered beneath the sun. The continents sprawled in peace, cities alive with quiet confidence. To an outside eye, Earth looked vulnerable, ordinary. But beneath its mountains and oceans, the truth stirred. Deep under the Rockies, steel doors the size of mountains rumbled awake. Dust fell from hinges that had not moved in centuries. Lights flared one by one, illuminating a cavernous chamber. The ancient Terran command Nexus. Holomaps blinked alive. For the first time in 300 years, the system defense grid pulsed with power. Operators in shadowed bunkers, long trained for a day most thought would never come, took their stations in silence. Their fingers hovered over controls polished. By generations of waiting, across Mars the sands trembled. Beneath them, titanic shapes shifted, groaning as ancient engines flickered to life. On Titan, bunkers opened like the eyes of giants. On Luna, hangars disgorged ships that had never been seen beyond Earth's sky. Everywhere, humanity's silence cracked, not with words, but with power. The envoy fleets had not yet arrived, but Earth already knew. They had always known. For centuries, humanity had been dismissed as silent, irrelevant, forgotten. But silence was never their surrender. It was patience, calculation, the waiting breath before the storm breaks, and when the storm came, the galaxy would learn what the elders had never dared say aloud. Humanity does not forgive intrusion. Humanity does not yield when threatened. And above all, humanity does not stay silent forever. The first blots appeared in the night sky over Earth like shadows swallowing stars. Alien dreadnoughts, vast enough to cast entire cities into darkness, loomed over the atmosphere. Each ship's hull glinted with strange alloys, reflecting, the planet below as if mocking it. Humanity had been forgotten, but the galaxy had finally remembered. From orbit, the invaders broadcast their message in a voice that rumbled across the globe. It was not a warning. It was a demand. Submit or be erased. On the surface, humanity did not stir. Cities hummed quietly with life. Oceans shimmered under moonlight. Birds roamed the skies, oblivious to the shadows above. To any casual observer, Earth seemed defenseless, an unarmed jewel in the void, but appearances are a lie. In the Rockies, deep beneath layers of rock and steel, the Terran Command Nexus glowed with life. Holomaps flickered, and red lines traced trajectories of the alien ships approaching the planet. Operators moved with silent precision, checking weapons, recalibrating defenses, and monitoring communications that had been long dormant. One officer, her eyes cold as steel, leaned over a holographic map and whispered, "They still don't know. We never left. We were always here." Above them, the first salvo of alien drones streaked through the upper atmosphere, scanning for resistance. They moved like swarms of locusts, mechanical and precise, but the moment they reached Earth's orbit, human sensors locked onto them. In a heartbeat, a single human defense platform fired. A lance of plasma struck the lead drone. It vaporized. Before it could complete a scan, exploding into shards of glowing metal that rained into space. The other drones hesitated, as if sensing the unseen teeth behind the silence. Panic rippled through the alien fleets. Their communication channels crackled with alarm. This is impossible!" hissed the Athecan fleet commander, his clawed hand trembling. "They have weapons. They are firing." The galaxy had expected a weak, silent planet. Instead, they had been met with precision strikes executed with the efficiency of centuries of preparation. Humanity's silence had been a trap, and the galaxy had just walked into it. On Mars, buried beneath crimson sands, ancient Terran warships stirred. Engines groaned to life after centuries of dormancy, hulls scarring the sands as if awakening from a nightmare. Titans of steel, forgotten by history, began to rise toward the surface. On Luna, hangars opened silently, revealing ships sleek as predators, armed with weapons long rumored to exist only in myths. And in orbit, defense grids hummed with energy, channels of plasma arcing and charging in preparation. Across Earth, civilians remained unaware. To them, the lights in the mountains were distant and quiet, and the stars above were merely beautiful. Only the operators, the guardians, knew the truth. Humanity had not disappeared. Humanity had been waiting, and now the waiting was over. The alien envoy vessels broadcast another message, sharper this time, almost desperate. "You cannot resist. Surrender immediately or destruction will be total." Deep inside the Terran Command Nexus, an old general's hand hovered over a holographic console. His eyes, lined with decades of experience, glimmered in the red light. He spoke, and his words were not loud, but they carried the weight of inevitability. Let them come. Let them see what silence means. In the void above Earth, the dreadnoughts hesitated. The first human counterstrikes had arrived faster than any alien calculations could predict. Each strike was surgical, precise, and lethal. Alien crews stared at screens as drones disintegrated in flames before they even had time to report. Panic began to spread. Across the galaxy, intelligence networks scrambled to understand what was happening. Yet all they received were fragmented. Reports, impossible stories of ships that had been gone for centuries firing once more, of humans who had vanished yet were suddenly everywhere. And beneath the calm surface of oceans and mountains, more secrets stirred. War vaults long sealed, weapons long forgotten, and armies trained in silence awoke, ready for the war they had been waiting centuries to fight. The galaxy had assumed silence meant weakness. Earth had proven it meant preparation, somewhere, deep. In the alien command fleet, a young officer whispered to no one, "We underestimated them. We've made a terrible mistake." Far below, in the dark bunkers of the Nexus, humanity's operators continued their work, calm as the storm approached. They did not speak of victory. They did not gloat. They only waited, as they always had, for the moment when the galaxy would finally learn the cost of waking a sleeping giant, and the giant had opened its eyes. The void above Earth shimmered with silence for a heartbeat, and then hell broke loose. From the edge of the atmosphere, the first human strike cruisers burst forward like silver arrows loosed from centuries of careful aim. Their hulls glinted. Under the sun, engines screaming in harmony as plasma lances flared from their weapons bays. Alien dreadnoughts, massive enough to blot out continents, suddenly realized they were not hunters. They were prey. The flagship of the Athecan fleet, a city-sized fortress of alloy and menace, pulsed as human missiles streaked toward it. Precision-guided, energy-amplified, these weapons struck the hull in perfect synchronization. Explosions rippled along the alien vessel like fire racing across a dry forest, sending plumes of molten metal spiraling into the void. Aboard the flagship, chaos erupted. Alarms screamed in discord, crews scrambled in panic, and the commander's clawed hands shook as he tried to maintain order. They were gone, he gasped. They should not exist. But existence was never the point. Survival was. In orbit around Earth, defense grids flared to life with blinding brilliance. Plasma arcs danced across space, forming a lethal web that cut off escape routes. Smaller alien craft attempting to flee or regroup were shredded before they could react. Space itself seemed alive with human wrath, a living barrier between Earth and the invaders. On the surface, civilians remained blissfully unaware, as if the chaos above were a storm of distant stars. Yet, deep beneath their feet, ancient bunkers hummed and groaned as centuries-old war machines stirred from slumber. Titans of steel, long mythologized, began to rise, their weapons systems glowing with deadly intent. Humanity's response was not a strike. It was a demonstration. From Mars, the first assault fleets launched, cutting through the void with deadly precision. Every missile, torpedo, and plasma beam calculated to annihilate, each strike a message. We are not silent. We are not weak. We are awake. The flagship's shields flickered, groaning under assault. Entire sections of the vessel vaporized, leaving molten gaps that bled into space. Crew members screamed, but no one could hear them beyond the hull. Panic spread faster than fire. "This cannot be!" shrieked the Athecan commander, his voice echoing against reinforced walls. "They should be centuries away! They cannot—" A sudden impact rocked the flagship. Human boarding torpedoes, small but devastating, ripped through outer layers, detonating in internal compartments with surgical precision. Systems failed. Power grids collapsed. The great ship shuddered like a wounded beast. And for the first time, the alien fleet felt true fear. Across the galaxy, whispers spread. Reports poured in from every intelligence network. The humans are awake. They have returned. Their fleets, their weapons. Everything we assumed gone is here, and it burns. In the Nexus, the old general did not smile. He did not cheer. He simply watched the holomap, eyes cold, calculating. One strike, he murmured. One strike to remind them of what silence really means. Yet even as Earth's fleets tore through the invaders, another force stirred. Deep beneath the oceans, the human biotanks opened. New weapons emerged. Creatures modified for war, their scales glinting with armor, their claws capable of tearing through starship hulls. The galaxy had not imagined humanity would combine technology with biology, precision with evolution. Yet, here it was, ready. Alien eyes widened in disbelief as human ships, armed with weapons the galaxy had only whispered about in fear, struck with flawless coordination. Every attack, every move screamed centuries of preparation. Every strike was a declaration. We were never gone. We were always watching. And now, you will learn our wrath. And then, as the flagship's bridge began to collapse, the human general's voice echoed across communications. Calm, unwavering, chilling. This is your first lesson. Remember it well. The galaxy wanted our silence. But we answered with fire. In that instant, the void itself seemed to burn. Human ships, ancient war machines, and living weapons converged in a symphony of destruction. The galaxy had underestimated the sleeping giant of Earth, and the consequences would ripple across stars like a tidal wave. The first battle was over, but the war had only just begun. And somewhere, deep in the heart of the alien fleet, a single thought spread like wildfire. We have awakened a monster we cannot contain. The galaxy reeled in shock. The flagship's obliteration above Earth was not merely a battle, it was a declaration. Across star systems, fleets slowed, transmissions froze, and even the most hardened commanders whispered rumors of humanity's hidden might. Deep in the Athenian core, the Council of War gathered. Pale-skinned diplomats, scaled tacticians, and metallic advisors convened around a holographic map of the outer rim. Star systems blinked like wounded eyes, each dot representing territories now questioning loyalty. The humans, hissed High Commander Velric, claws tapping rhythmically against the table. They were gone, forgotten, and yet they've returned. And they kill with precision. They kill like they've waited for centuries. A younger officer interjected, voice trembling. Sir, we underestimated their silence. Entire fleets, lost, systems. Velric slammed a clawed hand onto the table. Enough. They have returned, yes. But silence alone does not conquer the galaxy. We must adapt. We must strike before they consolidate. Meanwhile, in orbit around Sol, human sensors detected a ripple of movement across the void. Alien intelligence, operatives, small, nimble vessels designed for infiltration, slipped past outer defenses, scouting, probing, learning. Every pulse, every reflection, every movement was recorded, cataloged, and analyzed. Humanity's calm was not passive. It was preparation. On Earth, the Terran Command Nexus buzzed with quiet efficiency. The old general and his lieutenants monitored alien communications, now frantic, now deceptive. Human analysts moved like shadows, unseen, yet fully aware of every alien maneuver. Multiple infiltration vectors detected, one officer reported. They're probing for weaknesses, testing our network. Nothing yet has breached. They underestimate our depth. The general's eyes, sharp as a hawk's, scanned the holomap. Let them probe, he said softly. We control every shadow. Every blind spot is already mapped, every move anticipated. Beneath the surface, human espionage agents, descendants of those who had survived centuries of galactic manipulation, prepared for insertion. Their targets, alien command centers, communication hubs, and supply stations. They moved with stealth, perfected by decades of secrecy, vanishing into the darkness of space like ghosts. In the Athenian core, Velric's council debated retaliation. Plans of massive strikes, orbital bombardments, and even assassination missions were proposed. But each idea faltered under the same terrifying realization. Humanity was no longer predictable. Their silence was only the beginning. Their patience, their preparation, and their timing made them deadly. Above Earth, in the dark void between planets, the first human espionage drones slipped into the alien network. They were small, almost invisible, armed with intelligence-gathering systems and adaptive camouflage. They infiltrated supply convoys, listened to encrypted channels, and left behind traces of chaos that the aliens couldn't trace. Every small disruption echoed through the galaxy like whispers of doom. Back in the Nexus, the old general stood before a panoramic view of the stars. They think chaos will unseat us. They believe panic can fracture our ranks. Let them test that assumption. The message to the galaxy was clear. Humanity did not rely on brute force alone. The shadows they had cultivated over centuries were as lethal as any fleet. Every fleet destroyed, every ship vaporized, every intelligence breach was part of a symphony. A war orchestrated from centuries of preparation. A counterattack measured, deliberate, and inevitable. In the core, Velric's claws raked through his hair, frustration spilling over. They fight from shadows we cannot perceive. Their strength, it's not in numbers. It's in centuries of waiting, preparing, perfecting. As darkness fell over Sol, satellites flickered with signals of alien reconnaissance. Yet Earth remained a calm eye in the storm, unmoved, impenetrable. Every strike, every counter, every trap had been set long before the invaders ever remembered Earth's name. And somewhere, deep in the Nexus, the general whispered a warning, not to humans, not to allies, but to the invaders who dared probe the sleeping giant. The galaxy may see shadows as weakness, but we know the power within them. Let them step further into darkness. We will be ready. Above, stars blinked silently, 1,000 worlds watching, waiting, trembling. Humanity's war was no longer just fire. It was the quiet menace of inevitability. The galaxy's overconfidence had invited catastrophe, and the first echoes of terror were only beginning to resound. The fringe systems were always the galaxy's first line of defense, and this time, they would bear witness to humanity's wrath. From the shadowed edge of the Tau Prime cluster, alien scouts reported massive human formations advancing. These were no mere strike fleets. They were coordinated armadas, moving with uncanny precision, each vessel anticipating every maneuver the invaders could conceive. Commander Thalek of the Athican Outer Fleet stared at his tactical display, disbelief etched across his face. They are not reacting, he whispered to his second-in-command. Every system, every station we destroy, they respond exactly as if they expected it. How can they anticipate us? On the bridge of the Terran command carrier Vigilant, the general watched the unfolding battle with calm detachment. Holographic projections showed alien formations attempting to flank human ships, but every path was already blocked, every angle covered. Prepare the strike vectors, he said softly. Let them test the edge of human patience. The fringe will not fall. In a blink, the human fleet surged forward. Plasma lances ignited, cutting arcs of light through the void. Alien cruisers tried to respond, but their systems overloaded. Under the calculated onslaught, every salvo, every defensive maneuver had been anticipated. The aliens realized, too late, that the humans were not merely defending. They were orchestrating a war the galaxy had long forgotten. Above the icy world of Kredos Phi, boarding pods detached silently from human cruisers, slipping into enemy capital. Ships. Soldiers moved like shadows, armed with weapons that tore through hulls as though the metal were paper. Explosions flared from within, their light reflecting across orbiting asteroids, painting a surreal portrait of destruction. The aliens attempted to regroup, But humanity had mastered the art of deception. Feints, ambushes, and counterattacks unfolded with the precision of a maestro conducting a symphony of war. Every lost cruiser, every vaporized dreadnought sent ripples of panic through the Athecan command network. Back in the Nexus, intelligence. Officers intercepted alien communications, the fear in their transmissions palpable. They cannot predict. Every strike, every move, muttered one officer. The general merely nodded. They underestimate us. That is their fatal flaw. The Fringe, an uncharted asteroid belt, became the stage for a spectacle of human ingenuity. Cloaked frigates emerged from the dark, unleashing plasma harpoons that tore through enemy engines, sending massive ships spinning into the void like wounded leviathans. Alien gunners fired blindly, their sensors overwhelmed by decoys, misdirection, and perfect timing. Yet even as victory streaked across the stars, the general's mind remained several moves ahead. Reports from deep space scouts indicated a fleet massing in the Seraphim Rift. A coalition of desperate alien forces attempting to consolidate power. They will test us, he murmured, but the test will fail. Amid the chaos, a single, human frigate, the Silent Dagger, maneuvered behind the enemy vanguard. Its crew executed a surgical strike on the Rift's command nexus, severing communications, crippling shields, and turning the tide of battle in a matter of minutes. Alien commanders screamed in disbelief as orders went unanswered, and their own forces began fracturing under the relentless human onslaught. The general's voice echoed across the fleet, calm but authoritative. The Fringe was only the beginning. Let the galaxy watch and understand. Humanity does not act rashly. We act decisively. We endure. And we strike when the moment is perfect. Stars flared with explosions, shadows of destroyed vessels drifting like specters across the void. Humanity's armada glided through the chaos, a force of inevitability that no alien fleet could withstand. And yet, even as the battle concluded, a single thought gnawed at the alien command. These humans are not warriors by chance. They are centuries of planning, patience, and precision made flesh. If they have come to the Fringe, what awaits deeper in the core? On the Vigilant, the general's eyes scanned the holomap once more. The galaxy might have thought Earth weak, isolated, forgotten, but the Fringe had proven that silence was not surrender, patience was not hesitation, and humanity's return was more than a message. It was a reckoning. In the aftermath, debris drifted silently through the void. Alien survivors limped away, carrying tales of destruction that would ripple across systems. And somewhere, in the calm eye of Earth's war network, the general whispered into the darkness, the galaxy wanted our silence. They got war. And we are only beginning. The core, the galaxy's nerve center. A sprawling web of systems, command hubs, and fortified worlds that had long dictated the fates of countless civilizations. To reach it was to challenge the very foundation of alien dominion. And humanity was coming. Through the rift of fractured stars, the Terran fleet advanced, sleek warships cutting through the void like blades of night. Each vessel carried hundreds of vessels, drones, and strike teams, all synchronized with precision that alien tacticians had only ever dreamed of. On the bridge of the Vigilant, the general surveyed the approaching core. The heart of their command, he murmured. Every system here relies on fear and control. Let's remind them. We are not afraid. Scouting reports revealed the first layers of defenses, orbital fortresses bristling with turrets, cloaked interceptors, and planetary shield arrays capable of vaporizing entire fleets. But for humanity, these were not obstacles. They were opportunities. Target. Their communications nodes, the general ordered. We cut the head first, and the body follows. Human strike teams descended in shadow, boarding pods weaving between orbital turrets with near invisibility. Explosions lit the void as critical systems went offline. Communication grids fell silent, and panic spread like wildfire among the alien ranks. Ships turned in confusion, firing blindly into the void, while humans infiltrated deep into the cores. Command structures. Meanwhile, Velric, still reeling from the Fringe's devastation, realized the depth of the threat. "They are not just attacking," he barked. "They are dismantling us from within. Every fleet, every station, they move with knowledge we cannot comprehend. Every strike is calculated, inevitable. Human intelligence agents infiltrated the heart of the core itself, revealing dark secrets the galaxy had long buried, experimental weapons programs, hidden alliances, and corruption that had kept entire systems under alien rule. Humanity did not merely destroy, they exposed, they revealed, and they reshaped the battlefield. On the planet Varus 7, one of the core's critical command hubs, a small human task force disabled the primary shield array. Alien generals watched. Helplessly as fleets they believed invincible fell prey to coordinated attacks. The human advantage was not brute force, it was understanding, timing, and ruthless precision. In orbit above the core, the Vigilant coordinated the assault. The general's calm voice echoed through secure channels. "They rely on fear and confusion. Let them see the truth. Humanity fights with clarity, strategy, and resolve. We do not falter. We do not retreat. We endure." The first engagement with the core's elite fleet began with a flurry of plasma beams and missile swarms. Alien warships moved in formation, attempting to cut off human advance. Yet the Terrans anticipated every maneuver, weaving through the void with uncanny synchronicity. Drone swarms disabled engines, precision strikes shredded shields, and boarding units struck from unexpected vectors. Velric, desperate, ordered counterattacks that only worsened the chaos. Communications failed, fleets collided, and the core's command structure began to fracture. Fear spread like a contagion among alien ranks. They had never faced an enemy that anticipated, adapted, and struck with such unerring accuracy. Amid the chaos, the general received a report. The alien High Council had activated a secret contingency, a doomsday protocol hidden deep within the core. One push of a button could decimate entire systems and cripple humanity's advance. He paused, weighing the threat, then issued a single order. "Divide and conquer. Neutralize the contingency before they realize we know it exists. Use every shadow, every angle. We move silently, as we always have." Human forces split, striking multiple targets simultaneously. While one team sabotaged the core's energy matrix, another intercepted the Doomsday Protocol, rewiring it to implode harmlessly within its containment field. Every alien countermeasure was met with superior strategy, every trap dismantled before it could spring. By the end of the engagement, humanity had not only penetrated the core, they had reshaped it. Entire command networks were disabled, fleets stranded, and alien leadership scattered and panicked. The message was clear. The galaxy's supposed heart of power was now exposed, vulnerable, and watched by a force it had long forgotten: humanity. The general looked over the victory, calm amid the carnage. The galaxy believed it could control us. They believed fear would silence Earth. We have shown them. Fear has no dominion over those who prepare, who endure, who fight with patience and precision. From the shattered core, a single thought began to ripple among alien survivors. Humanity was no longer merely a threat. Humanity was inevitability. Darkness spread across the alien home systems. The galaxy's most feared commanders, those who had once ruled countless worlds with iron precision, now scrambled beneath the shadow of a force they could neither predict nor halt. Humanity had come for the heart of their dominion, and nothing could hide them from human sight. Above the planet Arendor Prime, the Terran fleet assembled like a dark tide poised to crash. Cloaked frigates slid silently through the void, while battleships bristled with energy weapons aimed at key orbital fortresses. Every vessel moved with the certainty of inevitability. Every soldier knew their role before the first shots were fired. "Today, we eclipse their command," the general said, voice calm, almost serene, over the fleet's secure channels. "We strike at the leaders, the planners, the architects of their tyranny. Let the galaxy watch and understand." In orbit, the first strike wave descended. Alien fleets, desperate to form defensive lines, fired blindly into the void. Every salvo was intercepted, neutralized, or turned back with devastating accuracy. Dreadnoughts erupted in firestorms, their massive hulls shredded as though paper. Human pilots danced through debris, weaving impossibly precise maneuvers while maintaining perfect formation. On the surface of Arendor Prime, infiltrators deployed in total silence. Shadow teams moved through the sprawling citadel of alien command, bypassing traps and surveillance with uncanny efficiency. Plasma blades cut through reinforced doors, and tactical drones disabled surveillance grids in a heartbeat. No alerts sounded, no enemy reaction slowed their advance. Every movement had been anticipated. High Admiral Vorin, the last hope of alien resistance, watched from his command tower. Panic was etched across his features. "They are everywhere. They know everything. How can they know what we plan before we plan it?" The answer came swiftly. Human strike teams had already dismantled communications, surveillance, and key defensive networks. Entire command hierarchies collapsed under invisible pressure. Orders were sent, ignored, or intercepted. Fleets moved into ambushes without realizing it. Humanity did not merely fight. They orchestrated chaos with a masterful hand. Meanwhile, orbital bombardment continued. Massive beams carved channels through alien fortresses, and explosions flared like miniature suns, illuminating the void. Around the planet with eerie light, ships fell in patterns that seemed almost choreographed, and alien survivors fled in confusion, unable to comprehend the scale of human precision. Inside the alien High Council chamber, Vorin and his lieutenants activated a last-ditch weapon, a planet-wide pulse designed to incapacitate human ships. As the countdown began, the general's voice crackled across comms. "You act out of fear, but you forgot one thing. We anticipate, we adapt, we survive." In an instant, human engineers had inverted the pulse, converting its energy into a focused strike against the Council's own palace. Walls melted, towers crumbled, and Vorin's fleet, locked in formation above the planet, was caught in a chain reaction of destruction. Alien screams filled the void as their most prized assets turned to ruin. Yet the general did not celebrate. Calmly, he turned to the fleet, eyes scanning the holomap for remaining threats. "The eclipse is not complete until the leaders fall, and the galaxy knows our will. Move. Finish what we started." Through narrow corridors of fire and collapsing architecture, the human strike teams reached the inner sanctum. The alien leaders, those who had orchestrated centuries of conquest, were cornered. Some fought with desperation, but speed, strategy, and determination were unmatched. One by one, they were subdued, captured, or neutralized. The final act was swift and absolute. Humanity had struck at the heart of power, dismantling the command structure of an empire that had long believed itself untouchable. The galaxy trembled at the revelation. The so-called unassailable rulers had fallen, and the force that conquered them had emerged from a planet they had once considered insignificant. From orbit, the general looked down at the aftermath. Fires burned across Arendor Prime, ships drifted in silent ruin, and alien survivors fled in terror. Humanity had eclipsed them, striking decisively and leaving no room for doubt. The galaxy wanted silence. It got a storm, The invaders wanted control. They found chaos and humanity. Humanity had reminded them why Earth had never been conquered. The galaxy lay in stunned silence. Once feared fleets drifted like broken leviathans, and planets that had trembled under alien rule now burned with the ghosts of conquest. Humanity did not celebrate recklessly. This was not victory for pride, but for survival, for the undeniable assertion that no empire could suppress the spirit of Earth. From the bridge of the Vigilant, the general surveyed the aftermath. Screens flickered with live reports. Alien command hubs in ruin, communication networks fractured, and civilian populations, long oppressed, emerging from fear with cautious hope. Humanity had struck decisively, but the work was far from over. Humanity does not conquer. The general said softly to the assembled officers. We remind, we endure, we defend. The galaxy must understand. Power is not claimed by fear alone. Below, the first human envoys stepped onto liberated worlds. Alien populations watched with disbelief as soldiers extended hands of alliance rather than vengeance. Where terror had ruled for centuries, humanity brought order tempered with justice. The message was unmistakable. The galaxy had been tested, and Earth had endured, unbroken. Even the remaining alien warlords, scattered and leaderless, hesitated. Where once they would have struck without mercy, now they faced a calculated patience that unsettled their instincts. Every attempt at rebellion was anticipated. Every deception countered. Humanity's strength was no longer just firepower. It was strategy, resolve, and the unshakable certainty of being underestimated. In the core of the fallen empire, human engineers worked tirelessly to stabilize systems. Power grids were restored, life support reactivated, and communication lines reopened, not for domination, but for coordination, diplomacy, and rebuilding. The galaxy was being stitched together with hands that had once only fought for survival. Velric, watching from a captured command station, could hardly comprehend it. They did more than destroy, he whispered. They reshaped everything. And yet, there's no cruelty in it, no desire for conquest. On Arendor Prime, the human strike teams observed the last pockets of resistance crumble. Alien leaders, once arrogant and untouchable, now faced judgment tempered with fairness. Trials would follow, systems would rebuild, and the galaxy would... Remember the lesson, underestimate humanity at your own peril. As the sun rose over the core, ships of many species, some reluctant, some grateful, joined the Terran fleet. A new order began to emerge, one defined not by fear, but by accountability, collaboration, and the quiet assurance that Earth's defenders would not yield. The general turned to his officers. The galaxy has tested us, and we have answered. But remember this, the storm we brought was not chaos for its own sake. It was clarity. Let this be a warning. The universe may forget Earth, may mock its reach, may underestimate our will. But if provoked, we will rise, and we will endure. From orbit, the view of the shattered core was almost serene. Fires burned slowly, stars reflected off twisted metal, and the void seemed quieter than it had in centuries. Yet beneath that quiet, the pulse of human determination radiated outward, silent, unyielding, unstoppable. On the final report, the general recorded a message for the galaxy. We are not your oppressors. We are your reminder. The universe may have thought Earth silent, passive, unremarkable, but we endure, we protect, and when the time comes, we answer. Remember this, humanity will never bow to fear, and no empire, no matter how vast, will silence our voice. And so Earth's defenders returned home, the storm behind them leaving a galaxy forever altered, systems once enslaved, leaders once untouchable. Civilizations once broken, all had glimpsed the force of a species they had underestimated. The legacy was clear. Resilience, intelligence, and courage could overcome the most entrenched power. For humanity, the war was not just fought with weapons, but with the unshakable knowledge that strength without morality is hollow, and that a species underestimated is a species to be reckoned with. The galaxy would never forget the storm, and Earth would never again be overlooked. Moral, final HFY. Thread, true strength is measured not by domination, but by resilience, strategy, and integrity. When underestimated, humanity endures, and in endurance lies the power to reshape the galaxy itself.